from Minnesota is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I yield myself the balance of the time.
The gentleman is recognized.
And by the way, to my friend across the aisle, I concur. I'm eager for a return to regular order, and I hope we work towards that. I want to thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Chairwoman Velazquez. Thank you to the extraordinary staff of the Small Business Committee, my staff, and so many in the Capitol complex who have brought us to this day. Representatives Blumenauer and Quigley, my good friend Brian Fitzpatrick from across the aisle, and so many others. In fact, 300 Democrats and Republicans are on bills right now to replenish the RRF. And I want to thank them all for getting us to today. You know, I'm a small business owner myself. I've been listening to this debate with open ears and open eyes. A long business career, now I own a couple coffee shops. Used to have 3, but we had to close one during the pandemic. I know how hard it is, how hard it's been, and how hard it will be. But we didn't take PPP, we didn't take an EIDL loan, we didn't take any of the government support programs. That's why I'm here to advocate for the 177,000 small restaurants and cafes and millions of owners, operators, and employees all around the country, in my district and yours, who were approved for RRF funds and have been waiting for almost a full year for us to make good on a very simple promise. And I want to thank the thousands of other small entrepreneurs and enterprises in the fitness and live events and hospitality and other hard-hit sectors who've been waiting so patiently but desperately for support. You know, a singular principle has guided me in this 8-month journey to get to today to see this bill become law. And it's the universal and core American principle of fairness. Fairness. You see, we promised American entrepreneurs during the worst of COVID that we would be there for them. We promised that those who required financial support to survive, that we would distribute it on a level playing field. We promised that there would be no program just for the wealthy or the well-connected. And we promised them that their government, the United States of America, would not pick winners and losers. It's a theme I hear constantly from my friends across the aisle, and I agree with it. But lo and behold, what did we do? We did just that. We picked winners and losers by woefully underfunding the RRF and all but ignoring other small businesses dependent on public gathering that were ravaged by the pandemic. Most of the 100,000 restaurants and cafes that received support weathered the storm because of that support. They kept their lights on and their people paid, and they're now returning to viability. I think we can all agree on that. But 177,000 restaurants and cafes, often next door to one another or across the street from one another, those who received RRF support, they got nothing. One restaurant on one side of the street, full support. The other one applied, approved, got nothing. Patently, grossly unfair. Actually, let me correct myself. I shouldn't say they got nothing. You know what they got? They got non-forgivable bank loans. They took on credit card debt. They mortgaged their homes. Many lost hope and closed their doors. And yes, a number took their own lives. They lost hope and took their own lives. I've sat around tables with tears hearing those stories as their debts mounted and their dreams slipped away. So to my friends across the aisle who plan to vote against this measure, particularly those whose own businesses were recipients of COVID aid that was passed in this chamber, I ask a very simple question. How would you feel? How would you feel if you and your business were among the 177,000 that got nothing? How would you feel? And was it not wasteful spending or inflationary spending when you took the money? My goodness. Today we've got one last opportunity, I do believe it is the last opportunity, to make good on a very simple promise that we made at the outset of this pandemic. And best of all, we are going to convert the monies recovered from the prosecution of fraud into fairness. That's right, from fraud to fairness. The money that was fraudulently obtained is rightfully supposed to go to those that we hope to benefit if we pass this bill today. Now, we may not always agree on policy, but my goodness, I would like to think that Democrats and Republicans in the United States Congress can agree on the basic principle of fairness. That's why I will not urge, rather I will ask, that my colleagues vote yes on H.R. 3807, to vote yes for American small businesses, and to vote yes for fairness. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman